Hey guys, no gameplay this time, sorry. Still working on that. Um, but I have just posted, my trying to help Utantan 9X, and I have to say, I want to explain a little bit of myself here. This is basically story time, getting to know your Fen. Um, Here's the stories I'm telling you have to do with my English teachers. I told you I hate my English teachers. Well, I'm gonna reflect on this a little bit. In elementary school, they only really focus on spelling, and especially here, um, my teachers were kind of mean, like uber mean. Like my second grade teacher was the worst evil woman ever. Miss Ambrose, I know you'll never watch this. You might even be dead. I don't know, but she was old. Um, if you are, rest in peace, wherever the hell you are. Probably hell, but she was cruel. Like, if your grades were bad, she didn't reflect it on her failure as a teacher. And trust me, everyone in the class had piss poor grades most of the time. She openly called you stupid for it. Like, I'm not joking. She would insult your intelligence up and down, and that was in second grade. We were like 7 and getting our asses handed to us by like a 70-year-old woman. It was horrible. Moving right along, I didn't really have a whole lot of issues up until I'd have to say 6th grade. Miss Orr, another old teacher. How come there aren't many young teachers anymore? I don't know. Miss Orr, oh my god. Decent teacher, short temper. Oh my god. A lot of kids hit puberty when they enter middle school, and especially us guys, we become smartasses. I was one such smartass. Still am. Gotta love it. She busted my ass so hard in class, like, it made me cry. I'm not gonna even fib a little bit. Um, it made me freaking bawl. She busted my ass so good that I was afraid to sit down for weeks. Like, I avoided that class like a freaking like it was a freaking plague. I'm not even kidding. That class was terrible. We had this about me project. Like, you had to write so much about yourself and explain so much about yourself. I don't like really well at the time. I didn't like talking about myself and my life and everything. And I tried. I tried my damnedest. It didn't work. Like, I just couldn't get motivated to tell more about me. I was more interested in other people at that point. So we had to go around, I don't want to do the project, it's stupid argument. Um, Needless to say, her being the teacher made her win, and she won hands down. I'm not even going to contest that. She beat my ass into the ground with those arguments. Evil woman, and made me really hate English. 7th grade, who was my English teacher? That would have been. Oh my god, Mr. Stanger? It was Mr. Stanger. My god. Weird guy. He was like one of the very few male teachers in my middle school, or in the entire school at all. Um, he was very unemotional. He barely did anything. He was like, okay, I'm putting this on the board, you write it, go home, whatever. He was my last class of the day. I didn't care. I bullshit around with my friends in that class all the time. It was what we did. Actually, I got into a conversation about Resident Evil in that class, and it lasted like 2 weeks. It was pretty awesome. So there wasn't really any motivation there, and I hardly learned a thing. So, yeah. I'll go right now and tell you that I actually learned how to read from Final Fantasy IV. No shit, I actually learned how to read from a Final Fantasy game. Backtracking, I was 3 or 4 at the time. And my dad worked construction, but he got a Super Nintendo with Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo, now known as 4. See, I would always watch him play it because, as a little kid, I really had nothing else to do. So I'd watch him play it, and I was mesmerized by this. See, this has a little bit to do with gaming. I watched him forwards and backwards the entire time. Well, he went on this really big job across the state. Excuse me. So while my mom was working and cleaning and what have you, my dad had beaten it before the business trip. So I would pick up the game and play it. And at first my mom was like, "No, you shouldn't," but she couldn't stop me. I was fixed. Whenever she turned her back, I'd be back on the game, and I made sure not to play on my dad's file, so no one would be pissed off about that. But I played through Final Fantasy IV, following by memory what my dad had done, and I beat it in less time than he did. Of course he gets home when I'm fighting Zeromus. Spoilers for anyone who'd never played Final Fantasy IV. I was fighting the final boss, and he walks in, and at first he's like, "Oh, you can play the game? Oh crap, you're playing my file. I thought I told you not to play that." And my mom walks in and is like, "Nope, this is all his." Shocked beyond words, especially when he saw my time and my level. I beat it like 2 hours faster than he did. He asked me how I beat it, and I simply told him I just followed what you did. And he's like, "Well, we're going to play it again." I'm like, "Yay, more game, but you're going to read it this time." Boo! I hated reading as a kid. He didn't really force me to. It's just whenever I started to play the game, he wanted me to speak out loud what it says. And if anyone knows anything about Final Fantasy script, it's detailed. I had high school level words in my brain at 5 years old. It took a while to beat the game reading. I actually lost a good 10 hours off my original time. So yeah. That's why I'm really into reading and everything, because Final Fantasy IV got me into that, and that's why I like English. Anywho, continuing on after Mr. Stenger from 7th grade. 8th grade, who was my English teacher? I forget the chick's name, but it wasn't really a English class. It was more of a reading class. We didn't really learn grammar as much as we just read random stories. A lot of these stories I read during class. Like, she would assign a week for this story to be read, and then we'd cover it in class, and I'd have it done before she was even done telling us this. I'm a fast reader. In my off time, then, between handouts and what have you, I would carry around my own books. 400 plus page books, no joke. And that was like 8th grade. So I read a lot. I actually went into school at one point with 2 300-page books ish, and I finished both of them by the end of the day. It was a slower day, noted, but I still finished over 600 pages in a day. I'm a good reader. That was just fine. It had really nothing to do with English. I don't even know why I mentioned it. Then came 9th grade hell. Freshman year. I was in my hometown for, I have to say, 2 to 3 months. Who was my English teacher? You know, I remember so little about that time frame that I really can't tell. It was, I know this. No, it wasn't him. It was Mr. Sloots. Slooty. We made fun of his name, and I can guarantee you know what I called him. Mr. Sloots. Sluts. There you go. Ha ha, freaking ha. Well, I wasn't really there long enough. He was obsessed with zombies. We talked about zombies a lot. He was an awesome teacher, and he was most noted for having a puke green Mustang. Ford Mustang. Beautiful car, shitty color. Oh my god, I do not know who paid him to have that car, but I really hope he got enough money for that shit. That car was an atrocious color. Like, look up some baby foods, and I think it'd be the pea flavored baby food. It was that color. Yeah. Enough said, right? Well, due to family situation, I had to move, November of my freshman year. This put me in a completely different school, much dumber, and this is where my actual hell with English teachers begin, starting with Miss Patrone. Laura Patrone. There was another Patrone in the building, her cousin, I think? Not too sure, but she was the French teacher and the advanced English teacher in some points. But I got the Laura Patrone. Allow me to say that any angry thing I say about her in this video is completely justified. Basically, she had gotten her teaching license revoked in 3 different districts. All under, I think, 3rd grade. She was a kindergarten teacher at one point, a 1st grade teacher at one point, and I think a 3rd grade teacher. And each time she got her license revoked because she was a horrible teacher. Why in anyone's mind would you want to then enter a school district as a freshman teacher? Why? Why would you be that stupid when you can't even teach kids not to pick their noses? Not only that, but she treated us like kindergartners. Like, the class did not obey her at all. I had some of the rudest assholes in my freshman English class in that school. It was atrocious. No one listened to that woman. I could write circles around this chick. Basically, here's how class would start. Everyone would get in, and it was first period, so everyone's still excited about, what they did that night, the night before, rather, and they'd be loud, and they'd be boisterous, and she couldn't control them. I'm serious. It was out of control the entire time. And she was like, okay, kids, settle down. No. When you are a teacher in high school, and your class isn't listening to you, you break fucking rulers over your knee and tell them to shut up before you shove it up their asses. That is an awesome teacher right there. Too much backbone is better than no backbone at all, is basically the point I'm trying to make. So she'd let us bullshit around, whatever. Not only that, but she barely made us do any work. I got an A in that class by doing nothing, sitting there, jack fucking nothing, just sitting there. I'm not kidding. I would sit there the entire class, listen to her drone on and on and on, over everyone in the class, mind you, and she would hand us these papers, and it's like, I've done this shit back in 2nd grade. I know what I'm dealing with here. So it became completely pointless class. What also pissed me off about this particular teacher, and this is going into sophomore year, I don't know how she didn't get her license revoked that first year, but her 2nd year in is my sophomore year, and unfortunately I had her again before lunch. Actually, I think it was 4th period. My 4th class of the day was Miss Patrone. This woman was having an affair with the special ed teacher up on the 2nd floor. I know that's getting a little personal, but I think it's fucking hilarious. She was married, and every morning she'd be sitting there basically flirting and making all kissy face with Mr. Batista up on the 2nd floor. We made fun of her for it, whatever. This became a marriage issue. And, okay, if you're having a hard time, I understand if you get a little emotional, don't bring your shit to work. She answered her cell phone in the middle of class. It was her husband, and he left her in the middle of class. Oh my god, right? It was, oh my god. She started bawling in the middle of class. Apparently, she left. We didn't really care. We were too busy laughing at her. Cruel, I know, whatever. Bite me. Um, she left in the middle of class and went home and somehow salvaged that mess. That poor, poor man. She came in the next day and she was crying. No phone call or anything. No. She had no reason to cry. She was still crying about yesterday, the day before. And it's like, oh my god, just shut the woman up, right? Well, she's still making all flirty face, whatever. And just to let you know how dirty this school was, during lunch, I had a question for her because I wanted to transfer to an advanced English class, and I'm pretty sure you all understand why at this point. And it's like, I wanted to transfer, so I needed her to sign a paper. The door to her room was closed, and that struck me as kind of weird because all the teachers were open during lunch. And I opened the door to find her and Mr. Batista from the second floor. Fill in the blanks. They were doing shit. I had two friends with me at the time, Mike Miller and I think Dylan Campbell. We lost it so hard. Like, we started laughing and we ran from that room as fast as we could. We were all in her class and we wanted to transfer out like no one's fucking business. I never transferred out. I couldn't look her straight in the face again, and I knew I had to address her personally, so that was just shit. So, okay, she officially got busted, and due to the horrible reports she got, it was nearing the end of the year, and she was getting her license revoked. She broke down about this in class, too. She went on a freaking crying spree. Oh my god, I can't believe I lost another job. You can't? How could you not see that coming, woman? Woman! How could you not see that coming? I mean, it was staring at you blank in the face ever since you got here. Actually, ever since you went to college. Okay, so she was in a bad mood the entire last week of school. Day before finals, she... Okay, another thing that pissed me off, the fact that she treated us like kindergartners, and I'll tell you how, is she made us color and made us watch cartoons when she didn't feel like making us do anything. I'm all for a good coloring book. I love to color. I'm not much of an artist. Don't judge. I love to color. And I like movies. It's an English class, not a fucking theater, not an artist gallery, not a kindergarten daycare center. You are an English teacher. Teach me about English, you stupid bitch. Thank you. Moving along, she broke down about this, and the day before finals, Ryan Salva in the corner of the room was trying to do makeup work because he was absent a couple of days, so he was trying to make up work for his grade. Unfortunately, the light was off because the stupid bitch put in Lion King. Nothing against Lion King, mind you. Just funny. So he turned on the light so he could work on his paper. And she immediately busted on him and was like, hey, people are trying to watch the movie, turn the light off. And he's like, Miss Patron, I need to do this paper and I can't see well when the light's off. I need the light on so I can see my paper. He's like, well, go to the office. And I'm like, office? What are we, in freaking elementary school again? You write up a detention slip and you make him go to detention. No, she sent him to the principal. Oh, lordy. It gets better. He goes to the office, right? Apparently, of course a lot of people get on her case about this, because as big of a dick that Ryan Salva was, I don't like that kid in the slightest. As big of a dick as he was right. I mean, you need light to work, right? So, a few people got on her case about it. She kicked him out of class. I think at that point it was Cody Blacker and I want to say Mike Miller. Same guy who walked in on them with me. At this point, it's just a fucking outrage. We are all losing our mind. Finally, after her sending 5 or 6 people out of class, I'm like, Miss Patron, tell me why you became a teacher. This made everyone shut up in the class, right? So I'm like, okay. Miss Patrone, you are a horrible teacher. The class just, they were like, what? Like, I can't believe you just said that out loud. Oh, I did. Miss Patrone, you are a horrible teacher. I am so sorry you wasted so many years in college trying to do this. I don't know why you thought you'd be good at teaching. You can't control anyone. You get walked on, you get insulted, you treat us like fucking babies. Yes, I did say fucking in the middle of a high school class. Don't judge. I went on. It's like, look, you're horrible. You are just completely horrible. You bring your marriage issues into our class when we couldn't care less. You need to go back to college and find something that you might actually be good at, because teaching is definitely not it. Absolute silence. She starts to cry. I made my 10th grade English teacher cry. She kicked me out of class. I got applause on the way out. She called and she cried to the principal about what I said. And I got in, and all the people that she kicked out of class were in the office. And I get in, and they're like, oh, they got you too? It's like, yep. What do you do? I made her cry. And everyone just started laughing. I got a few high fives. It was all cool. No one liked that woman. So I get pulled in the principal's office first because she called crying about me. And my principal, Mr. Haswell, he adored me. Like, I could do absolutely no wrong. Well, I get in, and he's like, you know why you're in here right now. I know you know why. I'm like, yes, sir, I do know why. He's like, then tell me. It's like, I told Miss Patrone about herself. I'm tired of having a piss-poor English teacher. I'm not paying the fees for coloring time. I'm not paying this as a kindergarten daycare class. I'm not paying it as a study hall. I'm paying to be taught English. And he was like, here's the deal. If I don't punish you, she'll go to the Board of Education on this, and I'll lose my job, and you'll be extinguished from the school record, and you'll be kicked out of the school. I'm like, I understand that. Punish me if you need to. I just needed to get that out of my system. I've held it in for 2 years. He's like, I understand. And honestly, I don't blame you. The principal approved of what I said. I'm not shitting you. The principal approved of what I said. I was at a loss for words. I really was. Anyway, what he did was he, quote-unquote, suspended me for a day. So I missed that day of finals, and the second day I didn't have her. So I just walked in and did my finals like a normal person. And everyone was like, what? I shocked so many people that day, and I loved it so much. But that is my sophomore high school English class. Moving on to 11th grade, junior year, not really much to say about it. It was the only half-decent English class I've ever had. The teacher, Miss Seacrest, was an awesome teacher, really witty, really good taste in books. Lots of James Patterson, if anyone out there is a James Patterson fan. She loved it. Talked a lot of James Patterson. I was basically the smartest student in her class, and she passed me even though I missed like 2 to 3 weeks of school due to being sick. And she passed me anyway because no one in class understood any literature like I did. That's telling you something about this school. A school of like 300 plus kids and no one understood literature? Seriously? Oh my god. She'd always do these trivias and I'd be the only one who got any of them. Moving on to senior year, this is where it gets kind of bad for me because the first 2 weeks of my senior year I was homeless. A fire had started in my house the day before the first day of school. Like, not even 24 hours before the first day of school, and my house burned down. I lost everything. I'm like the whole shebang. Clothes, books, games. 360. I was a little peeved about that. Laptops, everything was gone. I'm telling you, the fire started in the living room and it just went up from there. It was fucking horrible. Don't trust old houses, kids. Anyway, so I was homeless, so I had to transfer. I was living in a hotel room for 2 weeks. Actually, I only went for like 3 or 4 days. But I went to my first first high school back before I moved freshman year. I went back there because the hotel was in the city limits. So I was forced to go to high school there for a while until I had to move. I had to walk from the hotel to the school, which took about an hour every day. That's basically why I stopped going. But that was just hell, and I don't even remember much about English class because I didn't even do anything. Moving along, I moved to Wheeling, West Virginia. It was in mid-September? Early September? It was early September when I moved in. And I started going to Wheeling Park. A particular someone will know is actually from this school. So this is a big city school. I was used to small town schools. This school was ginormous compared to my other schools. This comes down to 2 teachers in the English department, because I'm still talking English here. I had a composition teacher and a standard English teacher. The composition teacher was Miss Atkins. Oh my god, I hated that woman. We'll start with her. Miss Atkins, the composition teacher, has such a hard-on for Stephen King. Nothing against Stephen King. I met the guy. He's an awesome dude. He looks a little too happy for a guy who writes horror novels. I actually got a book signed by him once. I was at a little bit of a side note. I was at a bookstore in Columbus, Ohio, and I met him. He wasn't there for a book signing. I was looking for a new book, and I met Stephen King. He was there saying how well, the bookstore was doing, because I guess he had signed stuff there before, and I don't know, self-interest kind of deal. And we talked. It was the coolest thing ever. He was really happy. Like, you'd think a horror writer would be like, my life is dark. No, he was crazy. He was crazy happy. Anyway, moving along, Miss Atkins would not shut the fuck up about Stephen King. Good writer. He's good. He's definitely a better author. Is he, as she said, the best author since William Shakespeare? Absolutely not. She actually said that to a class. He is the best literature writer since William Shakespeare. How could you even relate William Shakespeare to Stephen King, aside from the amount of shit they do? Seriously, nothing against Stephen King. He writes about 13 news stories a year, and no one can match that shit. Moving right along. My opinion didn't matter in that class. I was in a city school now, and my intelligence was on par with everyone else, finally. And I wanted to tell her about another author and tell her, about their writing style, because it was a composition class. That's the kind of shit we did. She wouldn't listen. Not as good as Stephen King, move on. Not as good as Stephen King, move on. I wanted to punch her in the kidney so bad. So bad. I wanted to upend her life. That's how angry I was with her most of the time. I'd be sitting there reading, and it was The Sword of Shannara, 1976. Amazing fantasy novel. If anyone out there is interested in fantasy novels, find The Sword of Shannara. You will have your mind completely blown in 726 pages of pure awesome. Anyway, I was sitting there reading that in the beginning of class because she gave us a few minutes every day to, sort our shit out. And she'd walk by and she'd read it over my shoulder like a creeper, right? And she's like, "That doesn't look like Stephen King's writing." I'm like, "Because it isn't Stephen King, you crazy psycho." Of course, I didn't say that. I was trying to be polite. It's like, because it's not Stephen King, it's Terry Brooks. And she's like, "Well, stop reading it then. I don't want you reading anything by Stephen." How shallow can you get? Seriously, I was reading a perfectly good novel, and she made me stop reading because it wasn't Stephen King. I wanted to bust her so bad. If you're in something like composition where you actually cover literature and shit like that, and how you write literature and all those kinds of things, don't be shallow. That's it. I hated her, mainly because of the Stephen King thing, and because the only reason she was there is because of tenure. I think she was legitimately insane. This brings me to my English teacher of that year. Not the composition teacher, the English teacher. My English class teacher. Dr. Davis. She had a PhD in psychosis. She was psychotic to the max. Oh my god, Dr. Davis. This woman was a hell beast. Okay, allow me to say there was a boy in my class named Cody. He would always come in after the bell because Wheeling Park was a huge school. Dr. Davis's class was on the first floor, and Cody was coming from the opposite end of the building on the third floor. And you had a good 5 minutes to get between classes. But if, you're picking up class, and if your class was full, you sometimes didn't get out of that class for a solid 2 minutes. And that'd give you time to go through a crowded hallway of 2,000 plus kids. I'm not shitting you. Trying to get to your next class. So he would always come into class a minute and a half, 2 minutes late. Give or take a few. She would rant and rave about how she's going to write him up for being late to class. Every day. Never did it. She never did it. Every day she spent 15 minutes of our 45 bitching and moaning because Cody got to class late. No one cares, lady. He does it all the time. You never even start teaching before he gets in. I mean, okay. Yeah, he was late, and yeah, that's stupid. Not really his fault, but it's stupid anyway. If you're not teaching, then him coming in late, even if it's by a minute, isn't disrupting class. And she would always use that as an excuse. You're taking away time from them learning, and now it's all your fault that the class is behind. Over and over again for a solid 15 minutes. It's like, do not know any responsibility. It's your responsibility as a student. Yammer, 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 hammer. I wanted to hammer her so bad. Like, just grab a hammer and beat her in the face. I'm not a violent person. So, while she's sitting there bitching and moaning, there's a guy in my class. He was what we called super senior due to the fact that it was his second year being a senior because, of all people, Dr. Davis held him back. His name was Jeff Anderson. The funniest fucking guy I have ever met in my life. We had a theme song. He was a really good friend of mine. We had a theme song together. You know the Team America? Fuck yeah? Well, it was Jeff and Wade, fuck yeah. Yeah, we had our own theme song. It was awesome. And we yelled it every day when we left class. It was the best fucking thing ever. He didn't give a shit about what she heard him say. It was the funniest thing ever. She'd be sitting there, and he was a really big inspiration for me to backlash on her a few times. She'd be sitting there bitching Cody out. And, she's sitting there, yeah, you're late to class. And then she'd say something like, now you've wasted our class time because you're late. And Jeff, loud and clear, said, well, we'd have more class time if you shut your fucking mouth. And she said nothing to him. I am quoting him. He actually told my English teacher, We'd have more class time if you shut your fucking mouth and started the lesson. Everyone laughed, but she kept bitching about Cody as if she didn't hear a thing, and there was no way she couldn't have. It was the funniest fucking thing ever. It happened constantly, and I actually started doing that, which pissed her off, because, okay, Jeff the rebel was allowed to, but good sweet old Lil Wade, no. Wade wasn't allowed to do that. So, actually at a point I think she had a kind of a crush on me, and it really freaked me out. Like I said, she's legitimately insane. She would always like ask me about my life and shit, and it's like, lady, you're my English teacher, not my therapist. Out of my face. Whatever. Moving right along, it was another one of those Cody incidents, and she'd just be rambling. Actually, I think it was actually Jeff late to class this time. Again, she didn't say anything. But she mentioned the fact that we were all talking when we got in because there was a fire drill and something epic happened or some shit. Bomb threat or whatever. So we were all talking about that and what have you. And she bitched us to shut up. And we all stayed quiet. And then she kept on bitching about us not shutting up. The importance of us being quiet when we got to class. It's like, lady, I watched the clock, and it seriously took 23 minutes for her to stop talking about us not talking even though we weren't anymore. Yeah, she was that kind of teacher. During this rambling, it was 15 some minutes in, this guy, his name was Dylan. Don't remember his last name. Dylan and Kyle. Kyle starts singing Journey, Small Town Girl, in the middle of her bitch fit. The door's open. Everyone's door is open because it's a really hot day. He starts singing Journey with enthusiasm at the top of his lungs. I'm not going to rehash what it sounded like. Everyone in the class chimed in with him after the first verse. Actually, Dylan got him on, started singing with him in the second part of the first verse. And then everyone slowly started. Me and Jeff were into it too. She's like, stop singing right now! And we got louder. And to everyone's amaze, one of the teachers, he was actually a head of a department in the school, started singing it in the hall with us. It was hilarious. We had entire classrooms, like the classroom next to mine, started singing with us, and it was the most beautiful thing ever, because she couldn't stay mad at it, because we were singing it perfectly. I'm not going to sing for you guys, I'm sorry. That is some of the hijinks that went on in that class, and I'd love to continue, but this video is stretching. She made us all go to the principal, the disciplinary principal. There are like 3 or 4 different principals at Park. Can't remember his name. He was like, why are all of you in my office? We told him why. Like, oh, Dr. Davis. Yeah, I don't care. Just go sit outside. Wait until the bell rings, then just go home. Seriously. No one liked Dr. Davis. She was a stupid woman, and she actually lost her job due to the fact that tenure can't last over stupidity. Well, that's pretty much my English stories. I just wanted to share that with you, and it turned out to be a really good video, and I actually want to do this more often, so next time I think of a story to tell you guys, I will definitely tell you. And if you want me to stop, I will. But this has been Fenrir, and I will catch you all next time, I guess. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my story. Later, guys!